this evening, here October 5th, 2023, so I call this meeting to order. We are expecting 2 more commissioners this evening, and they should arrive shortly. Would you like to go over the protocol for a public hearing, Michaela? Basically, it means, I think we can do it pretty quickly. Just explain about the cards and what have you.
I'm not sure what you would like me to say.
How to submit comments.
How to submit comments.
Yes,
If
yes.
anyone from the audience would like to submit a comment, there are comment cards right outside the door on the desk. Please fill that out and bring it up to any one of us. You can go ahead and bring it up to me, and I'll make sure that I hand it to the chair, and you can speak to any or all items this evening.
Perfect. We don't take questions from the audience. We take questions and comments from these cards, and then we'll call you up, right?
Yes. Did I say questions?
Maybe.
Oh.
Just clarifying. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and review the minutes. How are the minutes? Do I have a motion? Are they good?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
All right. Motion has
I'll
been made to approve the minutes. We have a second.
Second.
All right. Roll call votes. Emily?
Approve.
Hmm?
Approving the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Emily says yes. Mike's not here. Amanda?
Yes.
Carlton?
Abstain.
Kenton?
I was absent, so abstain.
Okay. And I approve the minutes, so the minutes are approved. I don't have a report from the chair. The vice chair wouldn't, I would think. Anybody have any reports? Groovy. Report of the director? Anything? Yes, I think we have an update. Yes, we have stuff.
Yes, we do have some updates. One update is, if you recall, planning staff was asked to send out notification to all property owners that were within local historic districts annually, and we just did that this week. Thousands of postcards, and I think Cindy actually, maybe she can hold one up. These
Great.
postcards, they're specific to the district. One can,
What does
on
it
our
say?
website,
What's it say?
it basically directs you to our website. Any FAQs, design guidelines, if you want to hear about learn about your local historic district, anything, contact information, right to our page.
And we're going to do that
Rules
once
and regulations, what it means to be in a local historic district.
and we're going
all
to do
the
that
things.
once a year?
We're going to do it once a year.
Great.
It is rather expensive, but we've gotten a lot of great feedback from sending those out.
Excellent.
So,
Is this the first time we've done this?
no, we did it last year.
Okay,
We did it last year as well. Yeah,
great.
I think with Commissioner Bella was here. He may recall, but he was the chair at the time. So maybe about a year ago.
Anything else?
Yes, I was going to update you on the Yale-Crest Laird Local Historic District application. You forwarded a unanimous positive recommendation to the City Council, and last month the Planning Commission heard that application, and they forwarded a negative recommendation to City Council with not a lot of explanation, but some citation that it was in conflict with some policy statements in Plan Salt Lake. If you'd like, we can send you that meeting if you would like to hear that. But the next step is that we are sending out ballots to all property owners within that proposed local historic district. They have 30 days to send back their votes to the recorder's office, and we'll see what that vote looks like in support of that local historic district. And then we'll package that vote, all the recommendations, all the information on the record to the city council. When it reaches the city council, the council will hold a briefing to discuss that proposed local historic district.
So if I recall, didn't most, it was, as it was presented to us, like 60?
Babs, I can't hear
I'm
you,
sorry.
sorry.
If I recall, didn't the applicant say there were like 63 homes in that neighborhood and they had unanimously voted to do this?
They signed in support. The
Okay.
official vote
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been collected yet.
Okay.
They have 30 days to vote, but it was an incredibly high amount of signatures just to get the application started. That's right.
And do you need anyone from this commission when the city council meets to testify or be there at that meeting for informational purposes?
I don't think so, but if they do ask, I will absolutely let you know.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other updates? I don't have any general public comments, so we're going to go ahead and have our first hearing here, and that is for PLNHL 2023-00335, minor alteration for a tree platform at approximately 258 North J Street. And the staff person is Sarah, and Sarah is here to let us in on what this is all about. Make sure your mic's on and you talk right into it.
Thank you. Get me things situated here. So, as you stated, this is a request for a tree platform at 258 North J Street. This is an enforcement case. The proposed platform is under construction. You can see the property here is located to the northeast of Fifth Avenue, and it's on J Street. The approval is for a tree platform in the rear yard of the house. The height of the platform, including railing, is 25 feet from grade, and that includes a 3-foot railing, so the height of the platform itself is 22 feet. The total size is 120 square feet, and it would be accessed via a bridge from the second story and a spiral staircase. And staff is recommending denial of the proposal. So this is an image showing the front of the residence from J Street, and then an image from Fifth Avenue looking north. And then an image from the rear yard. It is a wide angle image to capture all of the rear yard. A site plan that was included with the packet. You can see the proposed platform and its location in the rear yard. An elevation drawing showing the height at 25 feet with a railing. And then it also shows the distance from the structure, the dwelling. As far as the request, the applicant is seeking several modifications from the zoning ordinance. The first is for accessory structure height. The second is the distance from the principal building. And I just want to clarify from the staff report that this is 4 feet from any portion of the principal building. So that would be 4 feet from the eaves rather than the rear facade itself. He's also seeking additional building coverage with the platform. The house and the platform exceed the building coverage by 1.5%. And then also seeking relief from compliance with the standards that are in the historic preservation overlay. Staff found that it was not compliant with 3 of the standards. The first standards relates to the property being used for its historic purpose or for a purpose that requires minimal change. The second is that the historic character of the property shall be retained, and alteration of features and spaces that characterize the property should be avoided. And the 8th standard is that contemporary designs are encouraged, but the design does need to be compatible with the scale, the color, the material, and the character of the property in the neighborhood. As far as key considerations, they're the modifications modifications requested and that I just discussed, as well as compliance with the residential design guidelines. And this concerns compatibility with the primary structure. It does extend above the roof of the house, and the flat roof and the height are not consistent with the historic development pattern. The height and the structure itself are not a traditional site structure for the neighborhood, and the secondary structures should be located and designed in a manner that's similar to those seen historically in the district. And this is not a common structure in the district. I want to note that as a whole, the Planning Division strives to give the best customer service possible, and staff does apologize for the incompleteness of the original initial response. Generally, planning staff can't consider factors outside of the zoning ordinance in a decision, but in historic districts, modifications from those standards can be granted. But in this case, staff isn't recommending modifications from the zoning standards. Another note is that when I drafted the report, I was not aware that photos were provided to the planning counter staff. But since the posting of the report, the applicant identified that these photos were provided and that planning counter staff confirmed that they did receive those. As far as building permit requirements, building services has stated that they do not perform reviews without a complete set of plans being submitted during a permit application. But based on a preliminary review, which was included with the packet, there are a number of things that they would ask for with the application. This includes information about the platform design and verification that it can support all loads, including live loads, snow loads, and wind loads. They would also look at the guard height, the opening limitations there, and they would also look at the spiral stair design. And they did identify that these were preliminary items and that structural engineering would be required, and they would need more information than what was included in the letter that was in the packet. There were some conflicting information there as far as the structural integrity of the tree. And so a staff's recommendation is for denial of this proposed request.
Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff?
And the applicant is here in this other presentation.
Great. But any questions for staff? Doesn't look like it, so go ahead. We'll have the applicant come up here. Kind of. Get her done. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, everybody.
And you need to talk right into this microphone, like 2 inches away.
I'll try. Hello, everybody. My name is Igor Kovalenko.
Closer. Can't hear you.
My name is Igor Kovalenko. I'm owner of the property 258 J Street. We've been living there like from 2017. I'm happy for the opportunity to talk to you, and I worked extensively with Sarah and her team. And in fact, this is not my first project working with zoning and planning. I did 2 projects before, and the work and collaboration was fruitful and helpful for me to learn, to educate myself. So in this project, I knew that it will be edge case, and before I did anything, and I went and consulted with in the same room I used to come before, explained what I want, and I asked what do I need to build this tree deck. I got the written response, and surprisingly, it was simple enough. So I built the platform. At least I started building the platform. So in my presentation, I will show the background of the platform, where I am today, what I'm trying to do, and my comments on the staff report. So this is the tree itself. It's located at the back of our property. It's a huge tree. The good thing of the tree, it was given us a good shade, but in the windstorm of 2020, maybe you remember when Liberty Park trees fell down with roots. That tree dropped a huge branch on our roof and knocked down the corner. I needed to repair it. That was the first alarm. In the snowstorm of next year, because of the heavy snow, two huge branches fell down and knocked down my fence. Again, I submitted the claim and the insurance, repaired it, but then our insurance rates went up because it's the same thing, Mother Nature, they don't understand. So we decided to cut it down, and in October 2022, we cut it down. Just because to be safe, and not because we wanted to build something on it. So we didn't cut it just for the purpose of the tree deck. That's a state of the tree when we cut it. You can see we left the three big branches where the tree trunk splits, and it's really big tree. At that time, I didn't plan to build anything, but cutting it completely was costly because we have a back porch built around the tree, and the tree roots were kind of under the deck. So I didn't want to distract the existing house. So I left it as is to see if it will grow again. But then I noticed that there is actually a good view. That's what we are trying to get. That's the main reason I started this project. This is the west side of Salt Lake. You can see the planes landing or taking off. It's a beautiful sunset. So I decided to try. This is what we believe it will be in a couple years. It's a tree deck, and the tree will grow. As of now, you can see the tree is cut, but it already shoot the new tree branches, and for this summer it grew like 4.5 feet. I'll show you later. This is not a deck for the parties. We're not planning to host their parties, friends, because entrance to the deck is from the master suite, and it will be awkward to invite anybody to the tree through your master suite. This is a not tree house. I've heard a lot of cool comments from our neighbors, like, "Oh, that's cool. We have a kid." Like they were saying that it's so cool for the kid, but it's not a building or any type of house on top of the tree. It's a deck. This is the current state. You can see, I took the pictures today. That's what I'm saying, that the tree is growing over the platform, which is already built, and all three branches are growing. And you can see it from the street, it's kind of continuation. But you can also see that the platform is already sitting on a tree. That was a moment when I was stopped. So I built the platform thinking that everything is okay, but then one of the neighbors complained, not knowing that I got a green light, and the civil engineer started this whole case. So I got involved into the process of review. What is this? It turned out to be that because of historical, there are limits which I was not informed about, and we needed to go through the whole process to identify and see what we can do. I read through the report from a staff report, and they obviously the experts, and they're very knowledgeable and they know what they do. But a couple of things I don't agree with, and this is an age case, first of all. There is no standard which fits this tree deck. Even from the definition perspective, it was treated from the beginning as a building or a structure, accessory building or structure, which assumes that the building has walls or a roof. And down in the report, there is like analysis that the roof line doesn't match the typical pattern, or all of the derived requirements from in the zoning code, they are derived for building. So in my opinion, it's the H case, it's not a building. You cannot apply the requirements for the roof line or for the materials of the wall when there are no wall or a roof. That's one thing. But again, I believe the team is experts and they did best they could. I just think that the current code does not account for the quirky things like this. In my opinion, it's a tree deck. It's simpler than a building. I apologize, it's cut, but Sarah mentioned that in their analysis, this project does not comply with these three requirements. I would like to comment on each of them. I'll start with number 8. This bullet point is talking about contemporary design. Nothing in my tree deck is contemporary. It's old school design with a railing, and what defines the look of this thing is really railing only. And the railing is just classical spindles which match my house, which match the house of the neighbor. Cedar shingles which I use, they match my house and the next house. So it's not a contemporary. To me, it's just not applicable, this requirement. First and the second point, they are more tricky because there is no formal, at least I didn't find, formal definition of defining characteristics. Based on my experience living in the avenues, I know for sure that facades of the old buildings are preserved, and you're not allowed to do anything to the facade of the building or visible sides. I'm not doing anything to the facade. I think I'm not changing a historical purpose of the house. It's still a house. It's still charming house, and I just complement it with the same looking deck. The second consideration is heavily based on not compatibility with the neighborhood because of the few reasons. This specific comment is about roof line. It does not match the house style. As I mentioned before, to me it seems, based on the definition, there is no roof line. You cannot say roof line doesn't match because it simply doesn't have a roof. And the second point about the materials, it was stated that applied materials are not in a list of allowed. In fact, I picked the materials from a list. I picked the wood shingles. You can see with the errors that this bottom of the platform matches the bottom of the railing in my balcony, and it's a cedar shingles. It matches cedar shingles on the neighbor house, apartments building. So, and the spindles, those are cedar spindles, which match my balcony materials, which was, again, I received the certificate of appropriateness when I was building a balcony. So to me, it matches the style. In fact, I just copy-pasted that style there. So I don't think those considerations are applicable in that case, and I believe I meet these requirements. One, and second one is about the roof line is simply not applicable to me. I apologize. The second consideration of the staff is about general design guidelines. So it doesn't fit the neighborhood because it's not a traditional structure. One of the page in the report outlines the neighbor houses, saying that the common traditional structure in the avenues is a gable or Dutch style. I would agree with it but I live at the avenue. I walk there every morning with my son to the daycare, and I see plenty of different structures. I see flat roof structures, which is not traditional, and it's nicely added into the neighborhood. In fact, those pictures are the pictures from 3-block radius from my house. This contemporary house is right across of my house. It's not traditional structure, but it's there. At some point, it was defined that it fits. For example, this blue house on the right side, it's a beautiful piece of the architecture. At some point of time, it was introduced to the avenues. So my point that actually this one at the bottom is recently, it's still in development. It's a townhouse, it's the 3rd Avenues. It's not a traditional structure, but nicely exists and was approved. My point here is that, yes, the tree house, there was no precedent of having a tree deck in the avenues. But there were plenty of precedents of adding non-traditional forms into the avenues, and they exist nicely with the Victorian house, with the Dutch houses. I don't see why my case is out of order. To me, it fits, and actually, based on the feedback I've got from all of my neighbors, except of one who threw me under the bus, is positive. Like, they don't mind, they like it, they like the quirkiness of the idea, and they want to see the finished product. So my opinion that, yes, it's not a traditional form, but along with other traditional houses, there is plenty of other non-traditional, such as contemporary, flat roof, and tree deck was consider it as a flat roof structure. So my conclusion, again, I trust these guys. I know that they're knowledgeable and they have a lot of experience. But my key point, before I build anything, I consulted with them. And as Sarah said, it's unfortunate that it turned out that way, but I did the best on my side to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. And as Sarah mentioned, building department expressed a lot of additional requirements such as the structural engineer analysis, the architectural plans. I'll be happy to provide it, and as of now, I consulted with the structural engineer and I have official report and calculations confirming that it will hold the load, wind load, and all other requirements from a building. And in fact, I consulted with this engineer to see if it's possible to drop the platform down because it was a main issue with the staff. And it's impossible just because of the tree. The point where it splits is at the top of the roof. I cannot build a platform lower to balance the weight. So, and I already built it because I had the green light. And I want to finish my presentation asking for whatever variations Sarah outlined. And I want to complete this. I don't like this project was in process like 6 months. So many things changed. I would finish it faster and it would look nice, but it's still in progress, not because of my fault. So I want to finish it, and again, I did the steps I could, and now I guess it's your authority which would help or not help me. So in any case, I'm helpful for the opportunity to present this project and hopefully complete it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the applicant?
Why is this feedback? Why is it so tall?
Because of the tree where it is.
Closer to the mic, please.
The tree giving me 3 points of support is at that level. It's just a couple feet tall than a roof line. That's a minimal height where I can seat the platform to be stable. Not because I want to be taller than everything around. It's just physical limit.
So it can't go any lower than it already is?
Because like imagine it's like one stick and you place a square piece on it, so it will be super unstable. At that level, I have 3 points of connection, and this is a minimal height. That's why.
Other questions? I have questions just on this one page here. When you initially consulted with the city didn't give you approval, did it? Go back to those three.
Three what?
The very last page of your presentation. It had 3 points. So the city did not give you permission. You consulted with the city.
So what I did, I came in person. I asked who I can talk to express my idea. I was appointed a person. We discussed. The person asked me to send the email with the formal description and the pictures and the plans, and I sent it. 2 weeks later, I got an email which stated that on my request, I don't need a building permit to continue, as long as the platform is less than 200 square feet and not higher than a house.
Did you get that permit?
It's technically not a permit, right? So, that's a pre-permit consultation. So I did not submit official application for the permit. That's what I was asking. So it would be
But
probably.
he told you to get a permit.
No.
Okay, I misunderstood that. The structural engineer, was that someone you hired or was it the city structural engineer?
I found the structural engineer
Okay.
and I hired them.
I needed to clarify that. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned that you had received a certificate of appropriateness for your deck. And my understanding is this commission, back that up. At that time when you were building your deck, did you know that you were in a historic district? Was that addressed? And did that have to comply with?
In 2018, I built an attic with that balcony. That whole thing required the certificate of appropriateness. Yes, I knew that I'm in a historical district.
Okay.
And yeah.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Maybe some of these are comments.
Can't hear you.
So I mean, I'm concerned that it's taller than the house. I don't like that at all. I don't agree that the spindles of your, I mean, on your rear balcony, those spindles are those spindles, but I don't find those to be compatible with the original design. And certainly moving forward with that same design, I would not consider that to be compatible, considering this is so visible because it's too tall. That seems like I don't find that design to be compatible. And I don't think anyone's trying to shut down your enjoyment of your property, but, you know, it does need to look.
What's your question?
It's,
I got your opinion, but what's your question?
I guess, how, you can't say how much this tree will fill in and how much it will be visible to your neighbors in the future.
I cannot say it, but again, the 3 months of summer shows that 4 feet of growth, and this is a huge trunk which has a lot of juice, and all of this will go. Yeah, I cannot guarantee that it will grow, but it shows the life. And on a compatibility point, I was open to design it the way to make it compatible. Again, like, I'm still open to make it compatible, but give me the example what's compatible. Like in Sarah's presentation, like those Victorian house, they all have front porch with spindles. How much more compatible it can be? It's the same style. I don't know. I'm open to change it, but give me the example.
You gave us many pictures of homes. There were no pictures of any tree houses submitted in the avenues.
That's true. It's there were no precedent of adding the tree deck. I would stress out, it's not a house, it's a deck, it's a flat platform.
I don't have any other cards for anybody to speak towards this. So, commissioners, do you have any other questions? All right, the applicant can...
Babs,
Yes.
can you please officially open the public hearing?
I thought I did right at the very beginning. Sorry.
No,
It is officially open, this public hearing. Thank you.
and then ask if there's anybody here to speak on the item other than the cards, please.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak towards this particular case 00335? Seeing none, we will now close the public hearing. Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
I wanted to note that there were 2 comments included in the
There-
staff
I
report,
thought there
and
were
then
4.
and then there were 4 in the Dropbox. Yes.
Right, okay.
Just wanted to make sure you're aware of those.
And they were all in favor of the applicant.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, so you can go back and sit, and so we'll close this part of the meeting and go into executive session. So, commissioners, what do you have to say?
Can I start?
Go ahead.
There are 3 items that strike me about this. First is the applicant made an effort to find out what he needed to do. And although he wasn't given approval, he did leave with the impression that he had done what he needed to do. I find this troubling, especially in personal context. Over the last 2 years, I've had 2 specific situations where I've worked early in a project with planning staff, have gotten information, have proceeded far into the project, and then been told by a senior planning staffer that what I was told before was wrong. And, you know, the fine print says, well, a decision isn't final until we have final drawings, but an applicant is entitled to getting good information up front, okay? And I don't know exactly the details of this, but I find it troubling. Second, this structure clearly falls under the auspices of an accessory structure. The zoning ordinance is written as an umbrella to cover all sorts of things that aren't primary structures. And this clearly is an accessory structure. The way the applicant describes the use, it is accessory to the house. And it clearly doesn't meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And again, talking about personal experience, I've beaten my head against the wall multiple times on accessory structures and the limits that the ordinance defines. And in every case, the ordinance said what I had to do. So this is an accessory structure. It doesn't comply. And third, the design of the accessory structure, the treehouse, thereby becomes irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's compatible or not in its design because it doesn't comply in the first place. So there's no need to get hung up on whether it's shingles or this or that. If you can make it so it meets the accessory structures part of the ordinance, then we can get to the design. But at this point, it doesn't, and I can't support it.
Anyone else? All right, if,
Can I
oh, go
I have
ahead.
to add to that. I have something to add to that. I agree with Kenton. Typically, when we get like these requests for exceptions, it's due to an extenuating circumstance that's kind of baked into the lot. Like in the case of the avenues, you might have a tiny lot because it's so dense. So something like maximizing, or like if it was a normal accessory structure that had to be built closer to the house because it can't be built far from the or it has to be further from the property line. Like that's kind of why we have the power to make these exceptions to the zoning code, is because historic districts have quirks. They were built before these zoning regulations went into effect. But yeah, I'm struggling a lot with the height of the structure because usually when we're asked for an exception on height, it's because you're adding on to the principal residence and you're trying to build an attic or something similar, and the principal residence itself is taller than the allowable height. Or if you are building like a detached accessory structure, it's like I want to put an ADU in the upper level of my garage, and I want the roof pitch to match the house because that would also make sense. But this isn't like that. It's too unique, and so therefore, specifically because of the height, I am also not supporting it.
Anything else, commissioners? All right, at this point in time, you can approve with conditions, deny, continue, or table. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
I will make the motion if I can find it here. Motion form. With regards to case PLN PCM 2023-00335, based on the information presented and discussion, I move that the commission deny this minor alteration application as recommended by staff.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right, the motion has been made by Commissioner Peters and seconded by Emily, sorry. And do we have any discussion?
It was seconded by Amanda.
Oh, right. Sorry. Do we have any discussion? All right, then let's go ahead and vote. Emily?
I'll vote to deny.
So you would approve?
Support the motion
Okay.
to deny.
All right, so that would be a yes. Michael?
Aye.
Amanda?
Me, right?
Aye.
Carlton?
Aye.
Kenton?
Aye.
Mike?
Yes.
And let me take note here that Commissioner Vela arrived late to the meeting, but do you feel comfortable in
Correct.
voting on this? Do you have
No,
enough
I
information?
have an opinion, but I didn't hear all of the
All right, so let's have
the
you-
presentation, so I'm going to recuse myself on this one.
Let's have you just abstain for this one. John?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. The motion passes. Thank you so much. All right, let's go to the next one, which is minor alteration for porch and walkway at approximately 1345 East Normandy Circle. Case number PLNHLC 2023-00439. And who is the staff person here? It is Mayara. Mayara, sorry. Thank you.
So this is a request for approval of a certificate of appropriateness to replace the steps of the front porch and walkway at 1345 East Normandy Circle.
Sorry, excuse me, Mayara. Can you hit the click share?
Well, never mind.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's the button on to the left of the computer. It's plugged into the computer.
Oh, this thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
well, I haven't been to HLC in 3 years, so. Okay, so let's start again. The request is for
And
approval.
again, this is public hearing, it's open. Just to clarify, yes, no, not yet? Not until this time? Then you just confused the hell out of me tonight, sorry.
Approval for certificate of appropriateness to replace the steps of the front porch and walkway at 1345 Normandy Circle. The property is currently under enforcement for performing work without a building permit and COA. And just to know what is being proposed, and whenever I say proposed here, it's already completed work. Some other additional landscaping and hard surfacing work is also part of the enforcement case, but it's not being included in this request because it can be approved administratively. Staff determined that the steps and the walkway did not meet the standards, and that's why we're bringing it to you, because staff doesn't have authority to deny those. Okay, and just for a little bit of context, the property is listed as contributing to the Yellowcrest Normandy Circle Local Historic District, and this is a very small historic district. It only contains 10 properties, 9 of them are contributing. So as you imagine, cohesiveness is very important for this district. And the district is unique because of the quality of the historic resources and their physical integrity. The district is also unique because it has a consistency in terms of setbacks, the treatment of the exterior facades, and the site feature patterns. And this image is of the local historic district. So the consideration was the porch and the walkway. The first one I'm going to go over is the porch steps. Both the porch and the use of brick, I consider character-defining features of this building for being, a prominent design element of the building and being the primary material. Those things contributed to the understanding of the historic resource. And as you can see in the picture, the original porch had 2 brick steps. They were rounded. The step on top was within the width of the porch, and the lower step extended out a little bit on the sides. The riser, which is the vertical part of the steps, was set back from the tread, giving it some detailing, and the pattern on the color of the bricks gave it some detailing. I just wanted to bring one correction. The applicant provided information that the brick that was on the steps were not the same as the house. They were different. We continue to have the same findings. The elements, the shape, and the size and material of the steps provided detail that were compatible and consistent with the building. So the work done did not follow the standards and guidelines, which is to preserve rather than replace when it comes to historic features and material, which resulted in an irreversible loss. And now we're looking into replacement. The guidelines and standards require that replacement be in character with the historic building in terms of scale, materials, and detailing. So the new steps, as you can see in the enforcement picture, is quite different from the original. The original is on the left. The new steps match the width of the original lower step that extends out, and enlarge the top one. Oh, sorry. It also removed the round feature and the details on the riser, and it is also of a different material. It's concrete, and it's not consistent with the design of the building. So staff finds that those steps do not meet the standards. The changes to the walkway itself does not diminish the contributed status of the building, but affect the historic district. Landscaping is an important component of a historic district. It creates the rhythm and provide an understanding of the context. So in this district, it is important because there is a very clear pattern on the walkways that create some visual coherence. The image there show that prior to the changes and even long before the district was established, there was a pattern of having winding and curved walkways in the front yard. The proposed walkway as a straight path is not consistent with the pattern. The changes deviate from what we find in the district. So with that image and analysis on the image. The applicable guidelines and standards indicate that historically significant site features, including walkways, should be preserved. And that means respecting walkway pattern and form, design, and material. The new walkway is of an appropriate material. It's a similar material, but does not follow the established form and design. So it negatively impact the historic district. So staff also finds that this does not comply with the standards. And then just to summarize, the new steps are found not compatible with the design of the building. The proposed walkway is found inconsistent with the pattern. And as it was included in the staff report, the replacement of the front porch and walkways do not comply with the standards of review. So we're recommending denial. I just wanted to mention one last thing. After the publishing of the staff reports, we received 2 emails. They were included in a Dropbox. I also received a call from a resident that didn't want to have their name, but it was a resident of Salt Lake City Historic District. I'm just going to read here because I don't want to paraphrase what they said. They felt that it was important for the integrity of the district that residents seek approval before doing work in a district. They were in favor of enforcement and mentioned pursuing work on their property before and having to change plans to meet standards. They expressed that the process for obtaining approval is now much easier than it was in the past, and indicated that there are advantages to living in a historic district.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff at this moment?
I do, actually. What was the origin of this case?
Enforcement case.
Yeah, but why was it an enforcement case? Was it a neighborhood complaint or something that was identified by city compliance? Or
It's usually a citizen complaint. The city doesn't actively look for those. Yeah.
That's true. All right. Anybody else? Mike, turn on your mic. Mike, turn on the mic.
Were either the steps or the sidewalk damaged?
Well, it looks like they were, we'll find out from the applicant, but it looks like they were pulling up all the grass to do xeriscaping or something, and they decided to replace this. We'll find out here momentarily, because one of those pictures shows no grass.
Yeah, I think the street view that is included in the staff report, I think maybe the grass was a little overgrown, so I don't know.
Okay. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I've got one. So we only have a problem with the shape and the material of the shape of the path, but there is no issue with this additional hardscaping that takes place on the right side of this building.
Yeah, we determined that the patio on the side wasn't an issue and it could be approved administratively.
All right, so no other questions. Let's go ahead and bring the applicant up. And first applicant, you're welcome to leave the meeting. You don't have to hang out. Okay. It's an interesting process, I must say. All right, the applicant is Michael Young, the property owner. So, great. Where do you want him to sit?
He can sit here. I'm just pulling up his
Okay.
presentation.
And
There you go. You can have
and really speak right into the microphone so we can hear you.
Well, this is not my comfort zone, being in front of a big group here. But I've just made some comments regarding the whole process, what led us to this remodel, and what led us to the design and everything ultimately. But first off, I'd like to apologize that we were even having this discussion today. I was ignorant to the fact that the front step was considered a historical feature of the house. I was unaware that these minor alterations would require a permit, much less approval from the Historic Landmark Commission. For the record, I love this city, I love my neighborhood, and I love the historic feel of the neighborhood. I also love my home. Next to my family, it means everything to me. We have invested nearly $1 million into our property in order to improve the home without compromising the historic charm and nature of it. I personally and painstakingly removed each of the windows on the front of the house. As you can see those, I sanded 90 years of paint off of each of those windows, each side, and got those down to the original condition, and took the hinges that were caked with paint and would not function, got those all cleaned up, and they work perfectly now. During our remodel, in 2016, our contractor was suggesting the front door, and I wouldn't have it. I told him I want to restore it to the best of our abilities, and we also had the door knocker you can see there, was covered in just a flat green as was the rest of the door and all the hardware. And we had that sandblasted and refinished in bronze. We also discovered during the remodel some batch elder tiles. I don't know if you guys are familiar with batch elder tiles, but they were have historical significance. I know in the Yale-Crest neighborhood, Keep Yale-Crest, the website, has a nice article on them. And as I learned about the historical significance of these batch elder tiles, I insisted that we make it a focal point of the house. This is how the mantle looks now. Let's see. So with that, I want to say I appreciate all the Historic Landmark Commission is doing. The problem is, after 6 years of living here, I was naive about the Historic Landmark's existence and authority. If the Historic Landmark Commission's approval is needed for any alterations to the front of a house, I believe there should be a proactive approach from the Historic Landmark Commission to notify owners of its existence, its mission, and also its authority. This entire project was forced upon us when we had a water main break. We also have a sewer that's 90 years old and was giving us problems, and so it all got dug up, and I'm sorry, but the walk and the step all got ruined in the process. We had permits for the work that was being done, the sewer and the water main. We were also actually doing a project in the backyard that partly led to the length of time that this project took to complete. But with all the permits being pulled, everything we were doing, no one from the city once mentioned we needed approval from the Historic Landmark Commission. 4.5 months went by where we had nothing but dirt and mud in the front yard and no walkway. You might imagine how excited we were to finally get a walkway after a muddy November and December when it finally got poured on December 22nd. It wasn't until May 16th that we finally caught the attention of the city, 10 months after the front walk was initially torn out. The design of the new yard was developed after walking our historic neighborhood and finding inspiration from the best yards. We also chose a landscaper that's from the historic neighborhood and does projects throughout the neighborhood. Once given notice, I applied for the certificate of appropriateness and figured it'd just be a formality as we have made major improvements to our front yard. But here we are. Regarding the old step and walk, I want to state what a safety hazard the front step was. The half-round shape of it threw so many people off. We had more than one stumble off the step. That's a safety issue no homeowner should be faced and be forced to deal with. The last thing I need is someone to fall off that and sue me. I think you can all imagine how frustrating that could be. The HLC staff report states my property is the only example of a round porch step in the district. With that, I'd argue the round porch step is not consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. It wasn't just the shape of the step that was the problem. The brick and mortar of the lower step was not weathering well, bricks were falling out, and nor was the segmented concrete walkway. I also want to mention the staff report referred to the walkway as made of concrete pavers. That is incorrect. There are large sections of concrete poured in place with a 2-inch gap. The corners of each of those segments, many of them, were breaking due to the design, and the gaps were unsightly. The grass wouldn't grow through there, but the weeds seemed to have no problem. While I can see the shape and design are different, I argue the new design is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And I did have some other things I wanted to show. Sorry, I got distracted, but this is the way our house looked for so long, and we were so grateful to finally get the walk and the yard and the whole project wrapped up. This shows a bit of a timeline between when the water main broke, how many months went by before we finally poured the step, and then how many months went by before I was informed of the need for a certificate of appropriateness. While I can see that the shape and design of the new step is different, I do argue that it's consistent with the character of the neighborhood. Concrete is timeless and used on many of the walks throughout the neighborhood. Although our walk has changed from being curved to being straight, I want to point out that each of the neighbors on each side of my home have straight walkways. As do many other homes throughout Yale Crest. And I've got many examples of straight walkways throughout the neighborhood. The new design overall is a cleaner look, and more importantly, it is safer. That half step had to go. While the design and material of the step were different than they are different than they were, they are in no way detract from the historic nature of the neighborhood, as the staff reports. An excerpt from the HLC's design guidelines, and I think Mariah, if I said that right, Mariah, as she mentioned, when things cannot be preserved, new site features should be compatible with the historic context and character of the neighborhood. The front walk could not be preserved during that water main break and sewer repair that we had. The historic landmarks requirement is to be compatible with the historic context and character of the neighborhood. It does not necessarily to replicate what was there. Finally, regarding the overall design of the front yard, another excerpt from the Historic Landmark Commission's design site work guidelines reads, most residential properties have a progression of space leading from the public realm of the street, transitioning to a semi-public, semi-private area of the front yard, and ending with the building entry and the private realm of the house. This indeed is a familiar trend around the neighborhood, and the reason we designed the walk, hedge, and yard the way we did. The new design has implemented such a transition from the public to semi-private and private space that the previous design lacked. Overall, the updates and improvements were things that I, as the homeowner, felt were necessary to do and were done in good taste. My home is my hope is that the Historic Landmark Commission will consider that the addition of the transitioning design feature, along with the good taste of the overall design, is an acceptable trade-off to the inconsistencies and shapes of the inconsistency of the shape and finish of the walk and step. Additionally, I wanted to approach some of my neighbors about the matter, and we heard from one of them. I do have a petition that I sent out as an email and asked who would be interested in supporting me and signing off on this. And so these are neighbors from the Normandy Circle Historic District, right in our circle. It states, we want to show our support for the project the Youngs have recently completed in the front yard. While we recognize the front walk and step have a different shape, there is no longer a brick step, we have no objection to the new design. There's nothing about the new design that detracts from the historical nature of the neighborhood. The project was done in good taste and is definitely an improvement over the old design. The project made quite a mess of our street and took a lot longer than any of us would have wished. We are strictly opposed to the possibility the Historic Landmark Commission might require them to tear it out and make a mess of our circle again. That is signed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 10 immediately surrounding, 9 homes, 6 if you consider myself as being in support of this. That's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So we'll enter that into evidence. If you would hand that over to us, that petition, please. Commissioners, do you have any questions of the applicant?
I also just want to mention, I did not mean to slide through the back door here and get this project done under the radar. I honestly did not know about the Historic Landmark Commission and our requirements as homeowners, and that's why I made mention of the idea that I feel like maybe either an annual postcard or notice when someone buys a residence in a historic district, that they should be advised of this, because I'm from homes where, in neighborhoods where nobody cares what I do and I can do what I want with the front. And that's kind of the thought process I had regarding the front yard. I would never do anything to the front, the house itself. My wife, when we bought the house, threw out the idea of painting the brick, and I said, hell no, we're not doing that. You know, we're going to keep the way. I really love my home. I think we did it in good taste, but if there's any questions, please.
Questions, commissioners?
One question. How long have you owned your home?
We bought it in 2016.
And did you use a contractor, a licensed contractor, to put in that concrete work?
Yes. We had a landscaper that had the contact for the contractor.
And that contractor was unaware that it was in a historic district and there might be rules and regulations regarding that?
He mentioned nothing about that.
Okay.
And again, if I knew this was about this process, you know, we had time. If I go back to that timeline, we had about 10 months, 4 months of no front walk where we could have gone through this process had I known it was what we needed to do. So I apologize that we are here today having this discussion after the project is completed, but I'm asking for forgiveness on it, seeing that the project overall has been done in good taste.
Any other questions? All right, we will now open the public hearing. You may step aside for the moment. And remember we have 3 comments on record, plus we have this petition that was entered, but we have a member of the public, Cindy Cromer, who wishes to speak. Cindy, if you'd come up. Wait, turn that on and get it really close to your lips.
Push.
Yeah.
Oh, it says push.
Yeah, good.
All right.
There you go.
Is this working?
Yes.
To Aubrey's satisfaction?
Yes.
So the Yale Crest Historic District cites the rolling topography as a character-defining feature, more than other historic districts, except perhaps the South Temple District. The treatment of landscape matters here. It's written into the language. There can be no question that the applicant should have known about the status in the historic district. It's on the title. The city has notified homeowners repeatedly. I received these 3 cards today. I'm short 1 because I have 4 buildings in historic districts, and I expect the 4th card to arrive tomorrow. The National Register boundaries have now been designated by permanent signs for the Yale Crest District. And the adoption of the Normandy District was not that long ago, and it was about the time, it was 2015. So all of those things suggest to me that this property owner should have known that he was in a historic district. And this is the 2nd set of cards that I've gotten about my properties located in districts in recent years. I thought it might be possible to remove the concrete on the porch and allow the sidewalk to remain. Then I felt that because of the curves of the cul-de-sac, it was really important to retain the curving sidewalks. And now, listening to what he's been through with the water line replacement, I've done 4 of those. It's an absolute nightmare. I've done 1 sewer line. It's horrible, especially if you have a multiple unit building. So at this point, I think it's important for the applicant to work with staff to come up with something that captures the feel of the original stairs, perhaps with a modification, so that they are less prone to tripping hazards. They do look small. Oh, thanks.
No,
But you're going to beat me.
I'll ask you to finish.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's what I would recommend at this point. I think it's most unfortunate that a straight sidewalk was used.
Thank you. Anyone else? We don't have any other cards, so I'm going to close the public hearing. And applicant, you can come back up and make a rebuttal of anything you wish or not. It's not really.
Well, I'd just like to make a comment. I was well aware I live in a historic neighborhood. I was not aware that this project would require approval, like I said, from the building zone, let alone the Historic Landmark Commission. I was not aware of the requirement to check with Historic Landmark Commission regarding these kind of changes. And again, my apologies that we're here today. Yeah, I'm just here to, I guess, ask for forgiveness and for acceptance of the way the project has turned out in light of, the difficulties of trying to tear up and replace this and the fallout of and the expense involved in doing that. I don't think I have anything else to add.
Okay,
but,
thank you. You can go back and sit down. We will go into executive session here and discuss amongst ourselves. So it wasn't a landscaping thing, it was a sewer thing, which I have to say is so expensive and does so much damage. And thank goodness for something called Home Serve Insurance at $5 a month for your sewer line. And I hope you all get it. Yes, $5 a month for your sewer line, $5 a month for your water line, and it's terrific. Anyhoodle, back to this issue. Sorry, took a little sidebar there. One of the recommendations that Cindy Cromer was suggesting was that staff work with the applicant to rectify this somehow. the round steps are really what gives it the charm, plus the movement, or I love the word rhythm of the sidewalk. And there was a photo of the whole cul-de-sac there that showed several of the sidewalks that were curly. The applicant said that in the staff report that the staff said there was only one round brick entry in that cul-de-sac. Can you verify that, or does anybody know that? They are a little obnoxious because they're smaller, but you can make them larger so that people don't trip on them. Do you have? Did I make that up? We have a picture.
Can you give her a second?
There we
Yeah,
are.
I think she's trying to, oh, there you go.
Right, and point out one. Yeah, that one. And which one is the applicant's? Sorry, my eyesight is feeble. The 11 o'clock one. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
And so everyone else is curvaceous of some point in time.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so the one next door to you goes straight 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and everybody else is a little curvaceous. All right, so we clarified that. All right. Commissioners, what else do you have to say? What say you all?
Babs, I'd just say, applying to this and the previous one, I hate enforcement cases. I hope I never have to deal with one again. But the city has got a good start of reaching out to let people know. They gotta accelerate that process, because the worst thing we have to do as a commission is to come out and tell someone something they've done can't remain. So I'd ask the city to keep up their efforts and improve them. Outreach.
Mr. Young, could you please take a seat? It's executive session.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other discussion?
Just a question. Is a permit required for replacing the sidewalk and the porch steps?
Say that again.
Is a permit required?
Is a permit required to replace your steps and your sidewalk?
I can answer that. Yes.
It is?
Flat work requires a permit, and the steps need review.
And that always bugs me that all these contractors that people hire have no clue.
I'm with Kenton here. I hate being the judge on this. There's two lines of defense for the city. The owner and the contractors. Okay, whether the owner knew or didn't know, then ultimately the people that pull the permit, I think should know. As soon as a permit is pulled in a certain area, in a certain address, there should be a red flag that comes up and says, hey, this is historic. And so, it's just an immediate thing. But it keeps coming back that, I didn't know, my contractor didn't say anything, and and this is not an aberration. Months later, there's a problem. I will say that, to being the round and being the curved at the sidewalk, the round steps make it even more special, because that's not current. That's not what you have, so it's a shame that it's not there anymore, because that did contribute, not only to the landscaping, but, to the approach to the house. I think it's a shame it's not there. I like what you said, Kenton, about having staff work with the applicant to resolve this amicably.
So are you suggesting we table it until the applicant and staff could meet together?
Can I just jump in and clarify
Jump
that?
in.
We operate under standards, so I think you need to give us direction on what standard they are meeting.
Let me continue. There's nothing that I would disagree with what staff said, period. I mean, there just isn't. I think there was an effort here. There's an effort on the interior of the house. There's quite a bit of money that has been spent. I know that the landscaping and all of that. I just think that, just on the basis, I know how I would vote, and I wouldn't disagree with anything that staff has said. I just think that there's perhaps an alternate where where staff can work with the owner and make changes to this that would be acceptable.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other comments?
Are are steps and walkways usually approved at an administrative or a staff level, or are those, because we don't typically see these?
Yeah,
Is
those
it
things
because
are
it's
approved
en-
administratively
enforcement?
when they meet the standards, yeah.
So for the people who do not know what it means to be in enforcement, what kinds of penalties does this non-compliance carry?
Paul, is it, the penalty, is it $25 a day? I can't remember anymore.
Let's have the lawyer chime in.
You know what? If Catherine were here, she could tell you because she works with enforcement. I think that's probably correct, but I'm never on the enforcement side, so I could just make up an answer. It's not going to be helpful.
No, don't you do that.
It's a charge per day per violation. That's as so I think from what I remember, it was $25. I don't remember if that's accurate today.
If there are a couple options, I mean, the staff report is written for denial with analysis and findings that this is an inappropriate project. You can go ahead and deny it. That's an option. They can submit a minor alteration and we can work with them. Or you can table it if you want to see it again. Or
Well,
you can approve it with the condition that essentially it has the curvature that was original. We need direction if you were going
Fine.
to bump it to staff, please.
Our options are to approve with conditions, to deny, to continue, or table. So I would need a motion.
I'm going to make a comment beforehand, if you don't mind.
Yep.
I find it a bit disturbing to reiterate what Ken and Michael have said, that the city is giving opinions on approvals and permits without also saying, hey, you're in a historic district, something needs to be checked out here. It seems to have happened twice in what we've heard tonight, and that's clearly an issue. In this particular case, it's true that the properties to either side, and this is more of an, that's funny, more of an observation, have relatively straight walks similar to what was installed here, but it's also true that those two buildings were built closer to the 1940s, whereas the rest of the houses in the neighborhood were built in the 1920s. So there's a time differential between those properties and the one that's subject to this case and the surrounding ones that do have the curved walks that are unique to the time frame in which they were constructed. That's just an observation for context in this particular case. I greatly appreciate the effort that the homeowner has clearly put into the building, the windows, the interiors, the exterior, without, you know, in their words, knowing that they were in a historic district. It's a very small historic district and one that is unique for a reason. I don't think that I would disagree with anything in the staff report. I do think that there were the potential for certain things that could have been done. For example, instead of having the concrete steps, if those were brick, it would at least mitigate some of the issues that we're looking at here. I think there are options that can be considered by the commission to find a middle ground or assist staff in finding a middle ground with the homeowner, and that's probably the direction at this point that I would lean.
Can you make a motion out of that?
If we want to find middle ground, we need a lot more direction on what that means, please.
I would say before I make a motion, if anyone has any comments on exactly what they would think that might be.
All right, so if we wanted to mitigate this somehow, I'm just taking a straw poll here. Is it the round brick entrance steps separate from the straight sidewalk, or is it both? What do you have the most heartburn over?
I don't mind the shape of the steps as much as I really mind the shape of the path. The shape of the path is a problem, and if it were if it followed more closely the original footprint of that side, of the original sidewalk, regardless of what its materials were, I would be satisfied with some better shape.
Okay. Anyone else?
To me, it's hard to separate the steps from the path.
Okay.
I think they go together. And I think that the current steps are jarring in comparison to the other structures in the historic district. But like we've also mentioned, it's troubling that the applicant says no one said anything when we were at the city. So, not sure where to find the common ground here, or the balance, because, you know, a lot of work has been put into this house, a lot of caring and careful work. So I hate to penalize the property owner. However, it is jarring to my eye when I look at the rest of the district.
Well, if we don't come up with some direction here, we're going to have to table this.
I'm not sure that if there wasn't a side-by-side comparison available that I would even notice that the steps were out of context. For me, it's more the path.
Yeah, I agree that it's more the path, but got to back up a little bit and think about, say he had come in, the owner had come in, say the owner had come in before with a proposal to do what he's done, we wouldn't have approved it. So, you know, I don't want to be the jerk of the night, but I'd say if it's going to be done, it needs to be done right.
So your motion would be to deny,
My
and then the
motion would be
applicant
to
could appeal?
deny. But I'm open to a compromise, but I would focus on the path rather than the steps.
Can I raise a related question about the path? So the original path had this the gaps that the applicant mentioned was a bit of a safety concern. Is that something that we're concerned about, or is it just the shape?
I think it's the shape, and you could also stamp it so it looked like it was stones, right? That didn't have holes in it.
I think it is evident that this homeowner has used a lot of care and taken a lot of pride in his home, and hopes to continue to show that kind of pride in his home. And in light of how onerous so much of this has been, I would like to see some modification, but I don't think it needs to be onerous. I do think something like stamped concrete would be a really good solution.
But stamped concrete wouldn't be something that would be in character with this,
No? You couldn't make
with
it look
any
all...
of our local historic districts in Salt Lake
Total-
City. That wouldn't,
Nope.
maybe on a back patio or something, but not a walkway.
Okay.
Thank you.
Learn something new every night.
And just to clarify staff analysis, we don't have an issue with the whole path being concrete. You may have your interpretation differently. We don't have an issue with being just concrete. It's the shape.
Do, 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 do.
I don't want to be a contrarian. I don't want to throw this into more chaos. I don't know if, well, first of all, if it wasn't enforcement, we wouldn't even be reviewing this because it would be denied or approved at the staff level. But I don't even know if I would deny the application if this was a normal course where they're applying for a certificate of appropriateness. I tend to agree that the path came out. It came out as part of a larger issue with the utilities. The whole front landscape was torn up, and there is something to be said for new construction being unique and not like obviously a period of its own time. So like with the steps themselves, if I were to build new steps, and maybe the debate is whether the steps had to come out for that work or not, but I would not build like semi-round brick steps at my house for safety reasons and for maintenance. And I think concrete steps are a product of their own time and they're completely appropriate, given the surrounding context. I'm looking at Street View right now. The path being straight, yeah, I guess maybe, but like at the same time, it is a new path. It's like replicating the old path isn't necessarily possible with today's materials, and I just don't think it's as big of a character defining feature as the other parts of the house.
If I could just build on John's comment, I think in addition to that, the length of the path is somewhat mitigated by the fact that the landscaping has been sort of pulled further away from the house. So it's not quite as, let's say, as long as it might appear in the photographs that lack the landscaping, which I think potentially contributes to its appropriateness, I guess, to use the word.
Well, the thought to support what you say there is that the photographs that have been presented focus directly upon the path. It's very linear. You're looking right down that with the one-point perspective. Plus, it is fresh, new concrete, which stands out. You know, maybe if in a different view, and if the concrete, once it weathers, or maybe the concrete should be stained to soften it, to make it more compatible with the original brick. That might serve to balance out its presence and being a new form.
Does that change then the importance of the landscape component? If we darken the concrete, I would like to hear from staff that whether the color of the concrete makes a difference. My sense is that the landscaping component of the historic district has the same weight as the structures. And so regardless of the color of the concrete, it seems like it's still out of character for the historic district.
Yeah, we don't regulate color on the path.
Still waiting for a motion. Throw one out and let's vote on something. Sure, let's do that.
Drainage to PLN HLC 2023-00439. Based on the information presented in discussion, I move that the commission deny this minor alteration and application as recommended by staff.
Great. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? All right. So Amanda has made the motion. Mike has seconded it. Do we have discussion? All right. Then why don't we vote? Emily? I do not have an option for sigh. I have yes, no, or abstain. Mm-hmm. So, you're voting yes or no? No. Okay. Michael?
Sorry, I'm confused. No is a vote.
Restate the motion.
The motion was to deny the
motion.
So if we're voting against the motion, then we're voting
not
against denial. Correct.
Yes, as I understand it. Is that
The
how we get
motion
this?
is to deny.
So is
Motion
that
is to deny
so can
the
we return
applicant.
And
Can we
then
return
an
to
I
Emily's vote?
means yes, I would like
to deny?
to deny.
Correct. Okay.
A no means I do not agree with a denial.
Okay. Does that
Does that
change
make-
your?
Okay, so you say no. All right.
Me too. No.
No, no. Amanda?
Aye.
Carlton?
Aye.
Kenton,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
John,
No.
and I'm going to abstain on this one. We have 4 in favor and 3 no. So the motion passes. All right.
No, Babs, do you want to mention that there is an appeals process?
There is an appeals process. Yes. Go ahead. What? Someone yelling at me here somewhere. Okay, great. All right, we have one more item. Thank you. You don't have to stay for the rest of this. And you can talk to your staff person about the appeals process. For other business here, we have an election and my term is up. So we have, who is the person that was in line as sort of vice chair? You're the vice chair? Great. So we would want you to be chair then, if people want that.
Just to clarify,
Yes.
just to clarify, Chair Delay,
Yes.
the Landmark Commission is a little unique in that the chair can be elected for 2 consecutive years,
Oh, okay.
but
Sure.
only 2 consecutive.
Okay. I'd do it again for two more years.
So that's, I'm not trying to encourage anything, I'm
No,
just
no,
trying
no.
to clarify.
I'm finally kind of getting it, so it'd be nice to have a couple more.
Anybody can put in their vote
Sure.
to what they want. You have the option to serve as another term, but that's not required.
Great. Does anybody want to run? You want to stay as my vice guy? Okay. So all in favor of the same old thing, me and him? Say aye.
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 Great.
Aye.
That passes. I do have one other item of business that I forgot to mention, and that is I was asked by the Deputy Director, Tammy Hunsaker of Community and Neighborhood Development, invited to serve on a committee for the RFP process of what the hell to do with the public safety building on 315 East and 200 South. And I said, hell yes, that will be fascinating. So I'll give you more about that as I learn about it. So there we are. And
Are they looking for other volunteers on that?
Pardon?
Are they looking for other people on that?
Are they looking for other people? For right now, they just wanted one, so I said sure.
Okay.
But if they do, I'll be glad to throw you up onto that screen
I would,
as well.
I would love to be involved in that process. I
Okay.
love the building, so.
Yeah, we all do. Is there any other business? Then I hereby close the meeting. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you November 2nd. And Emily, and I need you